They have two different kinds of inventory management systems in the game. Things have weight, but then they also fill spaces in your backpack. And usually you have one or the other. Alex, I had a few different things that I wanted to talk to you about today, but the thing is that we're going to push those back because I did something I need to talk to you about. Sadly, or happily, I don't know, I have returned to Palworld.
Ah, that game. In the midst of a patent crisis? How dare you?
Maybe because it might be the last opportunity I have. No. The thing about it is, I have not picked this game up since really February. I have really not touched it since we started, like, the server, and I was playing around with it a little bit with, like, you, and I think Clayton was there. We were tooling around with it. Really past that, I have not picked up the game at all.
I feel like a lot of people haven't. That's
no. Fine. Did we determine if I actually predicted that there would be about a 25% drop-off in about a month after release? Because I think that
I don't remember.
It was around that. I mean, I had my reasons, and I think my reasons were that anybody who was looking at this thinking that it'd be like Pokemon would play it for a while, but then realize it's not Pokemon. It's something very different. But I was definitely one of them. I had moved on, and I think we mostly moved on to, like, Helldivers for a while after that.
For a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Haven't gone back to that one for a little while either.
Nope.
But I wanted to go back
to that.
Yeah. Hey, for democracy, right?
Ooh.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. That's why we haven't gone back to it. The point of the matter is that Palworld was a big phenomenon at the beginning of the year. And then, like, not a lot of people were talking about it. And I think in the process of that, it's interesting to go back to some of these games that were really hot for a minute and see what has happened with them. And so, this is me going back to it. Not, however, without some pretty significant modding. This time around, I did do some modding with it. One of the big ones was that I have PAL spheres that have a 100% capture rate.
Wow.
Makes things way faster. You just start chucking out balls left and right and just catch everything in your way.
Really, that takes a little bit of the challenge away, but that's fine.
Don't care. Don't care.
I mean, the only mods I had installed for mine, at the point when I was playing it, were ones that essentially gave me things I wanted that I had in Pokemon, which are like IV checking. Because they do have IVs.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, I just want to be able to see, like, what they are so I can know, like, where I'm going to do breeding with them to do that. So we had been doing that on with Craveneye. So I think that, and just one that lets me see some of their stats and stuff like that.
Sure.
Sure.
That's perfectly fine. The ones I mostly wanted to get, though, are ones like everything's weightless. Because, frankly, the weight system in the game was just tedious. And one thing I had forgotten, because it's been so long, is they have two different kinds of inventory management systems in the game. Things have weight, but then they also fill spaces in your backpack. And usually you have one or the other. Usually it's like, there's 10 different types of items you can put in, or there's a weight limit for whatever you're carrying. And Palworld said, what about both? And now I only have to deal with the actual spaces that your backpack can hold, rather than the overall weight. Makes things so much easier, a lot less backtracking, and you can carry all your stone with you into a place if you're trying to do stuff, No problems there. I also did one mod that actually makes you so that you can play as Zoe, who's the first gym leader.
Of course you would.
That would be fun. That'd be fun. There were a couple others that didn't work so well for me, but those were primarily the kinds of things that I wanted to set up. Just make things so that you could do things a lot quicker, and be able to, move along a lot faster. There's some mods I didn't quite get to work that would actually also raise like your level cap and stuff like that. But like I was trying to find stuff like that, that would just make things way simpler so I could really hit the ground running. And the ones that I got seemed to have worked okay. So anyway, I was introduced yet again to the opening beach scene, and something that does happen this time that I was not aware is they don't actually start you on the beach after you wake up. You start in the ruins that are up the path.
That's where you started before.
One time I started on the beach. I think in the very early days I started on the beach. But I do remember starting on the thing. There are new, like, events and stuff that happen. There are meteors that fall out of the sky and have meteorite pieces. And then you go and you collect the meteorite pieces. Although I don't have much that I've been able to do with it, but there are some new crafting recipes that allow you to utilize them as like a meteorite cannon, I want to say. Something like that. Most of what...
It's a railgun.
Yeah. Most of what they've done is really just expand the ideas that they had already put in place. Not a lot of like brand new mechanics and such, but you have black marketeers. That is actually something that's unique, is that they have a second currency that's like a special currency in the game that you can use for some special equipment, and they're called dog coins.
Love that they're investing in the meme.
Yep, they have the paws on the coins. They are dropped by one of the new pals that is basically a mimic box.
Oh.
You get to catch basically a treasure chest that has teeth and a couple like ears on his head. You get to catch those. And I guess that's the big takeaway too, is that I noticed that there's new pals that I had not seen before. That there are new crafting recipes, that there are new equipments that you can get. Most of what they've done is just add more of what was existing.
They also added cosmetic skins for your pals.
Yeah, I have not played around with that, but I did notice up at the front that there's actually like a shrine that you can get for like the pal cosmetic one, and you can outfit them with stuff. So that's neat.
They had also modified the inventory system, like for chests.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can say, this chest is specifically for this item, or these specific items only.
Oh, yeah.
So that pals can deliver items into proper chests for you, for better sorting. And then they also made it so that you have the little workstation area that you have where you can like set their working conditions.
Yeah.
They made it so it's more like colony management, where you can say, hey, you're only going to be doing this task.
Right.
So if you've got a pal that's got like multiple different tasks they can do that's at your base, you can say, all right, you're actually only ever going to water plants.
Right.
And you're not doing any of the other things that you actually are qualified for. So it lets you select that, which was a really nice quality of life improvement, because it meant that you could put your base together, pick pals that you wanted, and have them do specific tasks.
Right.
Like, I think we had one that was on fridge duty.
Yeah.
Because you need a pal for the freezer to keep the food fresh. So I was like, all right, you can only do this one thing, and you are not doing anything else ever. You are sitting at that freezer full time.
Right. That's your job. I did try to get a mod to work that was not working for me. That would have eliminated timers on food so that they just don't degrade. But it was...
You have to resort the food out.
Yeah, I know. They kind of reset the timers and stuff. But the thing about it is that if you're modding this game, there's two different ways to do it. There's one that's actually like through the mod folder themselves, and I think it's BepInEx that you put them through. And then there's also ones where you can just put these files into a pack folder. And the ones that went into the pack folder seem to work pretty well for me, and I could never get the ones that need like that secondary layer to activate inside of the files. I could never get it to work correctly. So I was like, well, I'll just go with the kinds that seem to work better than the other ones. That need the secondary and third programs that in order to, unpack them into the right slots and do all of that. I wasn't getting that to work.
I'm pretty sure I just modded it through Vortex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, this mod manager is a wonderful thing. It was either that or it was Curse.
I haven't really dug into Vortex, so I don't know how it works.
Super easy.
It is.
Handles all the stuff for you.
Oh, good.
You download it to the mod manager, and then you go, yeah, turn this mod on. And it goes, here's some options that this mod gives you for, like, setting up, if it has options. It goes, like, for Skyrim modding, it's like, hey, these are options that the mod has, and it lets you select it through there, and then it goes, cool, we're going to set this up perfectly for you. And it's wonderful.
Oh, good.
Mod managers are great. Either Vortex for Nexus or Curse Forge for Curse.
Yeah.
As per thing we were talking about pre-show, for that you would need Curse.
You would need Curse. Okay.
It would make it 1,000 times easier to mod just by going Curse Forge. Yeah, here we go. It's got all the stuff to select from it and then download it and manage it right there. No mucking about with
the files.
Reading instructions. Yeah.
Yeah. That was always my big problem, is that I gotta download this and I gotta copy these files into this particular folder in the thing.
Mod managers handled 99% of that for you.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
That would.
Hence me having 100+ mods in Skyrim and only going, download the mod manager and then install it. We're good.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I gotta try that. Make my life easier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. Instead of the way I usually do it, which is like spending an hour kind of going, why is this not activating? Am I putting it in the mod folder or the mod folder? Or like, yeah.
To be fair, sometimes you can still get a mod that installs with the mod manager that doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and it's like occasionally it's like a loader thing. But usually in the mod description on Nexus, it'll be like, so in your load order, do this.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss. It makes it life for modding a lot easier, though.
I do find now, especially because we've talked about this before, I don't typically like to mod games. I like to just see what they are, out of the gate. But then there's a certain point where I'm like, okay, now I have problems, and I would like to not have these problems anymore. And sometimes I'll pick the games back up because it's like, okay, what if I could play this game but I didn't have these issues that were just bogging the whole thing down? Some of the problems that I had before seem to remain. Like, there's still some pathing problems.
Done better, but they're definitely...
It's where they're kind of going, the pals can't get to this workstation, and I'm like... They were just here, and still, some of the bosses are just so overlaid with hit points that you figure that these were probably built for multiplayer sessions, but if I'm literally saying this is a single player, you'd kind of think that they might account for that, because it's like, I don't know how I'm gonna get so much damage in at the same time, and you don't really have direct control over your pals most of the time when you're in those battles. Unless you actually have the gloves or you're actively like riding one of them. If you just throw them out, they kind of work on their own accord.
You just gotta get a Fox Sparks flamethrower going.
And the thing that I had to kind of like remind myself of is like, oh yeah, the element types. I gotta remember about the rock, paper, scissoring of the... I'll rephrase that. It's anyway the 1, 2, or 3-ishness of the system where I have to remember, like, wait, is ice strong against fire or weak against fire? Like that.
It's pretty straightforward, though.
Yeah, usually it is. If Pokemon has taught me anything, it's I know that fire beats grass and grass beats water and water beats fire. I know that those three basic ones I always know.
Yep.
And I know that, like, rock is good against electric. I know several of these, but then they occasionally throw in, like, here's the shadow one, and I'm like, how does this play into the... It's nice going back to a game that you've played before and have experience with, because you can hit the ground running anyway, and you kind of, like, know the mistakes you made. All of them, yeah. One was that I didn't build my base on the beach. I built it up on the plateaus this time, which makes more sense, because that's kind of like where the world opens up anyway. I knew that, like, hey, probably a good idea to try and get a bird that I can ride and get a saddle for them, because that's going to make my life way easier for exploration. I knew that, like, try to level up pretty quickly so that you have access to better equipment. Try to get, your better axes and your pickaxes and stuff like that. They have the grappling gun. Now that you know the grappling gun can be helpful, gliders and your shields and stuff are just very beneficial to you when you get into combat. One other thing that I noticed this time that in the early days of the game didn't seem to register for me as much. I think they fixed it pretty quickly, but if you're in a base and you want to build something, it knows to look in your inventory, like in your actual boxes for the stuff. Because I think...
Pretty sure it did that.
For some reason, I remembered when I first started that I had to, like, be holding the stuff on me in order to build something. But I think they kind of worked on that as one of the early patches.
Maybe? I don't remember, but I know it pulls from inventory wherever it is in your base, so...
It also could be me misremembering, because I've played enough crafting games where they, for some reason, have this weird affinity that you need to be holding on to the stuff rather than have it accessible in your base. Yeah. Which, please let me access the inventories when I'm building for other stuff in the game. It's annoying having to figure out where I stuck, 100 rock somewhere. There's 100 stone somewhere, guys. I need it for the base. Which box did I put it in? And it seems to be more accessible, too, to get larger storage chests now. That store a whole lot more than those basic wooden boxes, which I had to, like, load up on the first time that I played, because it was really all I could afford. It seems to be a lot easier to afford, and place much larger boxes that can hold the same amount as, like, 4 of those basic wooden ones, so much easier there. Generally, though, I would say the Palworld has done a good job at doing quality of life improvements and expanding the basic mechanics of the game. I was surprised when the first meteorite came down, because I was like, wait, what's going on here? I have not seen this yet. Fun little world event, they seem to have improved on, or they've expanded, like, the journey, goals that you're supposed to go through, because they've, added to the game. But at the same time, the basic structure of the game is pretty much the same. It's still the basic kind of mechanics that you play, and it is still addictive for what it is. And you can definitely tell that they've been working to just refine it, and I think that's good. Still not a perfect game, still has some issues, but in general, I think that it was worth going back to it. I think that having the experience from before and also seeing what they did is really useful. I had a similar experience recently with Coral Island, because they had gone into 1.0 finally this last year, and I had not played it for a little while, and then going back and realizing, oh yeah, they've actually expanded the events, where there's actually events there and not just a to be determined, and they've actually, like, added a bunch of new things to the seasons. It's interesting to see where you get to go back and really look at these with fresh eyes, like, for the first time. So yeah. When was the last time you played Palworld? Was it back in February too, or?
No, I've played it since, and it's been several months.
It's been a while, yeah.
I last booted it up recently because they had some free skins for the pals, so I was like, ooh, I guess I'll boot this up for that.
Okay, yeah, worth booting it up just for that reason.
That's the start of the game, yeah.
Just to start, yeah. But yeah, just in general, I think that they did they've been doing a fine enough job with it. I still think that the formula was a good idea, like, just in general. I think that it was a really interesting idea of taking that kind of, not really Pokemon, but the aesthetic kind of quality of a Pokemon, and then put it into a survival crafting game is, really interesting. It's a really interesting thing. There are still some rough textures. There's still a lot of pop-ins. There's still stuff like that. There's some jank, but it's better.
It's fine.
It's better. Yeah. Listen, if you play survival crafting games, you're used to jank. Every day. All day. It's constant. But at any rate, so if anyone out there has been back to Palworld, what did you think? What did you think? It was a big thing in January.
Almost back to it. I want to see them drop a major expansion to it come this January.
Yeah. It's been a year.
For free, though. Obviously free.
Oh, yeah. Just to bring players back.
Not because they're doing the No Man's Sky thing and they dropped a broken-ass game, but because they made enough money on it where I think they would be fine dropping a free huge expansion.
Oh, yeah. To be completely fair to Pocket Pair, when they released the game, it was in surprisingly stable shape. Like, for what I usually expect for games, especially coming into early access, it was surprisingly solid for the most part, and it has gotten better since then. It's not like a Cyberpunk situation where you're like, how did you do this when it comes out?
Anyways, if you've been back to Palworld since the hype in January, let us know how you think the state of the game is now and what you want them to do going forward, I guess, maybe, aside from not getting sued to the ground.
Yeah. We'll see how that works out. Maybe play it now just in case, but I think... But even so, please let us know in the comments down below.